NATO should have somewhat been disbanded after the collapse of the USSR.
Yes, after the Soviet Union collapsed, yes.
Why did NATO continue to expand long after USSR collapsed? I'm not Henry what's his name? Henry Kissinger. I'm not in the geopolitical side of things to know why, but I think NATO lived its usefulness, right? Um, People can say, well, what about China? Well, I don't know. Now we're gonna go back to everybody deciding who to side with, and I think.
Damn, do you think if they disperse NATO that our once allies might turn their backs to us?
What I'm afraid of is if we disperse NATO, I think Europe might be easy pickings for
Because you
whoever.
think about it, I mean, France just had one meeting with China. Next thing you know, he comes back
talking
all
about
this
his neck. Yeah. So I think
is that all it takes? Just one meeting with
I think Europe will be easy pickings, right? Where it's like, oh, we don't have NATO no more. Every country for yourself. Then you have some countries siding with China, some countries siding with Russia, some countries. Well, now, like, damn. So who's gonna side with a country all the way across the Atlantic?
And that's another thing. Once you disperse NATO, as an American, right? Not as American, but the military. Do they have the right to have bases on those countries?
Probably not.
I think that's part of the treaty.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
So we would have to bring back those resources back to America, which would make us stronger, but in a way weaker as well.
Globally weaker, nationally stronger. I think if we have I think if America just sticks to being America is huge, bro. America has. I think NATO has prevented more wars in Europe. That much we can definitely say that much
Definitely.
But the thing is, at what point do we say, all right, we're globalized enough where we can depend on globalization to prevent us from going to war instead of NATO? At what point do we say that?
I don't know. They might know something we don't know. Maybe there's conversations about they're maybe waiting for NATO to get dispersed so that way they could,
they can start buying stuff out. Like, hey, friends, we got your back.
Not even maybe just infiltrate and just attack. I don't know.
Who knows, man? But going back to the whole de-dollarization thing.
Yeah.
Freaking one of the funny things, people are not worried about it, and somebody brought up a good point. They were like, well, I'm not worried about BRICS because remember the euro, when the euro currency came out, it was supposed to be the dollar killer.
Yeah.
And all the countries in Europe have more in common with each other. They share borders, they share democratic identity, for the most part, democratic identity, and for the most part, they somewhat have a similar national identity, and they want to cooperate with each other, and they're democratic. You know what I mean? And they still couldn't top the dollar. These are all countries next to each other, cooperating with each other, wanting to cooperate with each other. You mean to tell me that a country with democratically elected leaders, full of people who want to cooperate with each other and want to work with each other and share borders and everything, if they couldn't topple the dollar, how could countries who are separated geographically, right? Some of them have dictators, some of them have political systems that are iffy at best. You mean to tell me that they're going to take down the dollar?
Yeah. I think it also goes back to the military, man. At the end of the day, we have operations worldwide.
We have that pull up. People talk about the pull out game. Nobody talks about the pull up game.
I mean, oh shit! At the end of the day, bro, if there is a threat that appears out of nowhere, maybe China starts getting really strong with their economy, and they try to outbeat us. We'll just go in there and we'll destabilize their economy, and that's it.
We messed up big time because ideally, right? Well, it gave us the PlayStation 4, but ideally, we shouldn't even be in the East like that. We shouldn't be in the Pacific.
So, I agree with that, but then again, it's just a lot of things that we don't know, right? Like us as America, we're all over the world, but do you think other countries like China, Russia, we see Russia moving more towards the West, right? Because I'm pretty sure they felt threatened and stuff when Ukraine announced they might join NATO and stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah.
Do you think that China and Russia have plans to keep moving to the West? Well, don't you think if we don't do it, then they would do it?
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the thing, right? First off, yes, Russia had plans to move to the West, the whole Iron Curtain thing. Yeah. NATO probably was the ones who stopped it. The USSR, when they were the USSR, China had plans. Probably still has plans to make vassal states out of South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia, all those places. But because we're there, they're not able to.
So you think Russia no longer has plans to move to the West?
I think, well, the USSR had plans to move to the West. After they collapsed, I don't think they can anymore. You know what I mean? I think Russia was like, oh, Ukraine's about to join NATO. NATO is right at our doorstep. NATO
So they
was
felt threatened.
yeah,
They're like, we can't let this happen.
right,
Like,
and
they're too close.
NATO was specifically created specifically for the USSR threat.
So what do you think is the agenda of America to keep moving towards like,
I think America just is imperialistic, bro.
yeah,
And nobody likes to hear that.
and
But
overall, like overall, we've talked about Europe. We talked about the USA. A little bit of the we
but
didn't really mention South America, but Africa. What's going on with Africa?
before you go on really quickly, I think America is imperialistic. I think Russia's imperialistic. I think China's imperialistic. Of those three imperialistic countries, which one do you want leading the world? It's obvious that the world
Yeah,
is kind of somewhat, and maybe I'm speaking from a ethnocentric perspective or a nationalistic perspective, but the world seems better off with America. We pretty much give out all our intellectual properties out. We build up other nations, other
did
countries.
you hear about the leak? We'll talk about that later. The leak that happened,
Yeah.
bro. Yeah,
But I think people are not worried about BRICS because of the reasons that I mentioned before. But what I do think is that the countries that owe, like right now, there's 5 countries that are part of BRICS or 6, whatever. But I think China can pull off like a sleight of hand and be like, yo, Africa, all those countries that owe us money, if you adopt the BRICS currency, you don't owe us money anymore.
so if they do agree with that, right? Do you think that's enough to bring
Bro,
down the dollar?
that's a big chunk of countries now. Now,
Yeah,
yeah, people will be like, yeah, but they're third world countries. Who cares about that? Well, it's a start, dude. And all these countries now all of a sudden have mines, have resources, and they're dealing in common currency. China could just be like, yo, you owe us money. You won't owe us any money if you use this currency. Drop your currency, use this currency.
damn man.
Think
Yeah,
about that.
damn.
And then,
Damn, maybe we shouldn't post this up. This is giving ideas to
nah,
China,
but
bro.
I think they're moving that way already,
Yeah.
bro. I think they're moving that way already. And then they'll be like, other countries in Africa will be like, well, damn, you know what? These people seem to be doing pretty well adopting that. We're gonna adopt that currency too. And what happens? Slowly start having an African Union.
And they owe a lot of money, right, to China?
Yeah, like
Billions?
tens of billions of dollars to China. And then before you know it, they'll have an African Union similar to the European Union that's a vassal state now to
Oh wow, to
China.
China.
Yeah, or BRICS, whatever you wanna. So
Yeah. Because I mean, the relationship between India and China is not that great. That's another.
that's
thing.
another thing
No
too,
one
right?
talks about that.
One thing we can say, yeah, France, Macron is talking out his neck right now, but at the end of the day, like we all get along with each other for the most part. Americans, British, French, Belgians, all Germans, all those people, we all get along with each other. But I don't know, man. All it takes is if one country in Europe decides to drop the euro and go to BRICS. I don't think that's gonna happen. But if one country decides that, yeah, we're gonna accept BRICS currency, it could be over.
Yeah.
Could be over for the euro for sure.
Wow, man.
So one of the thing is the thing that makes the dollar strong is the political system's backing it. How much do you respect? How much is the political system respected and followed in that country? And I think the dollar has proven time and time again that it's pretty stable. I want to change subject.